be joining us.
Sweet.
All right, I guess we're live. We're going to get this train wreck going. As always, that's on me, not Jared here. We just met him. Just don't run him off just yet. You know.
Okay.
Only from my comic.
Heck
Hey,
yeah.
Jared.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Usually I have my co-host, Shadowhawk, but who knows about him today? The link is in there in the chat for you, Shadowhawk, when you're ready. It's his wife's birthday today.
Oh, cool.
And it'll be his daughter's birthday on February 2nd. So he's got like boom, boom,
Yeah.
Tree Goblin in the house. Hey, Tree Goblin. We have some other people that are lurking, you know. This is my daily show, Jared. The 4 o'clock shadow. That's 4 o'clock Central, 5 Eastern. What do? You're an amateur. You say you're an amateur podcast host.
Yeah. So really what started it was, I was in the middle of COVID and I didn't really have that much to do besides go to school and just hang out. So I remember it actually vividly. I was walking into my dentist office and and as soon as I leave, I'm scrolling through Facebook and then I see like a notification that they were going to release the Snyder cut of Justice League. So I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. So that inspired me to go back and read all my back issues. So I started doing that, fell back in love with the medium. And at the time, I had really wanted to start a podcast, but I didn't know exactly what to do it on. And then I had FaceTimed a buddy of mine to talk about this stuff. And then we were like, that's it. Let's just do that. And the YouTube channel has really just been like picking up recently. So I'm pretty happy with the way it's grown.
Yeah. I should convert this into some kind of podcast at some point. I've got over 1,200 episodes over here. I don't know if that's a possibility to rerun some of that stuff, but it might be fun. Not all of it's usable, but back in December we hit 2-year anniversary, so we're going on strong and growing, getting ready to launch my book for Saturday.
Looks great.
Been working on that a while. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of work, especially do a daily. I know a lot of people are like, well, I couldn't do that. I don't have the schedule for one, but even if I did, it leads to burnout. There's some days you don't want to do it, but I mean, I'm trying to get into that. This is my life. This is what I do,
Exactly.
And I guess you have to do the same thing for your podcast, right? You have to kind of encourage yourself. This is what I want to do.
Well, for one thing, I'm kind of on that daily grind too, because pretty much most of the day. Like every day I'm recording or going live with something, whether or not that's the movie night streams, whether or not, in fact, I just got done a live streaming playing the Suicide Squad game. So it's like a lot of stuff going on at once.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you do like pop culture type things? Hey, Blue Sasquatch.
Typically, yeah, I'll cover like anything that has to do with like pop culture, particularly with like superhero stuff. Like every Saturday, we do a movie night stream where we talk about like any animated movies. What's up? Any any real geek movies that we want to cover. Like we spent a month covering all the Matrix movies, and then every Friday night at about 10 Eastern, we do a news show where we just summarize all the news of the week and just hang out.
If I had hit you in the top of the head with an axe and scooped your brains out with a spoon, what would be your jam? Well, I mean, the stuff you really like, maybe as a kid.
Honestly, DC. It's always been DC for the most part, because here's the thing. I've always been a big fan of Greek myth, and the thing about it is that when I looked at like Marvel, DC is really the ones that seems closer to that idea, because like the Justice League I kind of see as the pantheon of the gods,
right?
And really they have the most like intersection with Greek myths, so that's really where I like diverted my attention to DC.
What was your first comic you read?
First comic I read. All right. So that was a event that they did in the New 52 era called Trinity War. The reason why I got that is because I heard during the New 52, they paired up Superman and Wonder Woman. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'll go pick something up. So I picked up a trade of Trinity War. It featured it briefly, but it was all about like the Justice League Dark, the Justice League of America, and the actual Justice League going to war against each other. So it was actually
didn't those have linking covers? They would do like a Wonder Woman cover, and then next issue Batman, then Superman. It would make one big scene, and maybe the villain.
Something like that. I think they did that once. Yeah.
Oh, they did it more than once. Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They. I have several that are like, okay, Superman, Batman, then Wonder Woman, whatever, and it all one big scene. Sometimes the villain, where it's even linking covers. I like that. I think that's pretty cool. If you can make it work. I all right. I don't want to piss you off.
What?
I was more of a Marvel guy.
That's fine. It's like fair enough. Well, I mean, to be clear, I like Marvel too. I just prefer DC if I have to pick between the two.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, it's been nice knowing you.
There we go. Here we go.
Actually, the artist. See now the artist that drew my book. He's coming up on 72 years of age.
Wow.
Now I know I look 45, but I'm early 58. So he's older than I am. But he's making comics. That's great. There's people in their 90s making comics.
Hey,
I hope I can hold a pencil shakily, when I'm 92. But or dictate, hopefully beautiful girls around me, and I'll just
there you go.
Dictate my stories and say, hey, the new Neil Adams, come here, or whatever, Now I must say, like there were artists like George Perez, and I did read all over the place with DC. I mean, but now there were some regulars. New Teen Titans with George Perez and Marvel. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I got on that. I read the whole run. Well, I had the whole run of Arak, Son of Thunder. So they're Conan the Barbarian, but not really in the Middle Ages. I followed George Perez over to like Justice League, and when he was doing New Teen Titans, of course, that was the hottest thing going. I thought one of the main books of the early 80s that was one of the hottest, when I went to my very first comic book convention, I searched every copy out very early. I couldn't wait to run in there and look for their very first appearance in DC Comics Presents. I already had it, but I bought 7 copies. I bought everybody's copy. I paid from everything from $4 to $14,
Now
which
that
would
is
be
dedication.
yeah. Well, I knew that book was going to go up,
Mm-hmm.
eventually, a no brainer, and it
Mm-hmm.
was already had that was 1983, so it already had a few years under its belt.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what I wanted. I picked up a Neil Adams X-Men in like
Mm-hmm.
lower grade. I would say, oh, maybe, oh gosh, if you pressed it, which pressing wasn't a thing then, it would probably be a solid fine in there somewhere. Uh, I think the most thing it had was spine row, and you can press that out nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And you could back then if you knew to put a few heavy books on it, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I paid $5 for it.
Okay.
The good old days. I went up to Chicago and was buying Golden Age books for $5. Now,
Wow.
were they, from the 50s, like the old Daredevil?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't feature the hero except maybe in the logo, but still, it was the oldest stuff I was buying for my collection at the
Heck
time.
yeah.
And for $5, I couldn't believe it. Something that was already, let's see, already 30 something years old, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And now would be like 70 years old.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
amazing.
Time
I
flies.
wish I'd bought more back in the 80s, to
Mm-hmm.
tell you the truth. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. And
Mm-hmm.
it was more about the creators and around the creators at that time. I
Yeah.
met George Perez. I met
Oh.
several people that are gone now,
Mm-hmm.
um, some legends, back then. And it was all about them, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. It wasn't the new Netflix deal or the new movie that's out. It wasn't the celebrity thing that it's become today.
No.
I don't even, it really doesn't even appeal to me to go to a San Diego con. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
long
just the movies at
lines.
this point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if the movies were good, you know, I don't
Yeah.
want to wait in
Exactly.
long lines and stuff to get an autograph anymore. And back then, what we called a long line would be, even for Stan Lee, was nothing compared to a San Diego con where they might wait for hours upon hours and not even get to see him, get their
Mm-hmm.
thing signed. It's amazing,
Mm-hmm.
how it's just mushroomed and grown.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Stan Lee, who was ever the consummate showman, got to see some of that.
Yeah.
Kind of like Bob Kane got to see some success with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Even though a lot of people say, screw Bob Kane, he really took advantage of Bill Finger and some other creators,
Mm-hmm.
with Batman. I
Yeah.
get it. That's an old beef I wasn't a part of.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a problem with it. Welcome to the
Exactly.
show, Ethan Van Sciver.
Oh,
He
No,
wishes.
Doc Blaylock.
He wishes.
He
Nice.
wishes.
He
He had
wishes.
this much style, charm, and charisma.
Nice.
What's up, Jared?
How you doing?
I'm all right. Hey, Rex.
I'm just going to act froze.
Okay. I was like, did he freeze?
Style. He
There
kind
you
of
go.
stymied me with, I'm caught in amber.
exactly.
Let me out.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. Now, you see my collection back here.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of everything,
Mhm.
Even a shower.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
But now I see you have some stuff up on your wall. What? Oh gosh, you got a Aquaman trident.
Yes, I rule all of Atlantis. That is correct.
Yeah,
That is correct.
Batman there in the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Batman print right there is actually signed by Jim Lee.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let me get my firstborn, and we'll make a deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's my art wall, and then all the other stuff is the books. And
That's
then
cool. When I asked you on, I really didn't
know.
know if you were into comics or not. I'm glad to see you're into comics.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Geek.
Very much so.
Geek.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Are comics dying, Jared?
Okay. I think In a way, they are, and honestly, it's the company's own fault because, to a degree, because here's the thing: they're banking a little too hard on nostalgia instead of like, to a degree, allowing characters to grow. Because to a certain degree, when you look at like the way take Superman, the way Superman was in like pre-Crisis, he is very different than the way he was even post-Crisis to New 52, even to now. So it's the same thing with like the movies when they go, okay, so Superman can only be the Christopher Reeves version, and I'm like, that's a good version. The problem is you're shooting toward the general audience, and to a certain degree, the general audience has kind of moved beyond that. In terms
and
of
he's dead. I know, right? I mean, you can't resurrect the dead. I mean,
fun fact,
unless you do a Marvel zombie style Christopher Reeve, which would be cool, actually.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I go see that. We got a question here. What do you think of the Suicide Squad game?
Oh, it's really fun, particularly if you have like a bunch of friends to play with. It's like I play as Deadshot, a buddy of mine plays King Shark, and then another buddy of mine played as Harley Quinn, and we just went around and fought Brainiac, so it's fun. How many times can you react? Exactly. Then that's the thing. That's one of the things I always emphasize on my show is that you have to, because particularly with the movies, to a degree, the studios are like marketing towards the comic book fans because they want us to tell people to go see the movie. But really, they're shooting toward the general audience that doesn't know enough about these characters because there's not enough of us to get the numbers that these studios want.
Sure. Yeah, and I get that. But why is Marvel and DC, and has been for decades, a long time, are they stealing each other's ideals and incestuous? You know, like I have a Secret Wars, so DC has a something similar. We have Marvel Zombies, and then we have Darkest Night and things like that. It's just like, wow, I feel like both orifices in my body hurt very extreme.
The thing
one's
about
a DC, one's marked Marvel.
Yeah.
Sorry,
you always have to, because here's the thing: Marvel, to a degree, is like the industry leader, and that what Marvel does, everyone else takes their cues from Marvel. So DC is like, oh, they got success with a zombie story. Quick, call Jeff Johns on the phone and have him do Blackest Night.
Well, I get it, Timothy, that Marvel and DC has always done it. That's a question I like to ask people. Why? Because I really don't have a good answer for it, a good handle on it. Why are they so incestuous? I mean,
it got worse.
If DC does something good, Marvel's got to mimic. Now, Marvel seems to, rip off.
Marvel does it more.
In a more delicate way. I understand Marvel doing it, but DC does the same thing. If Marvel does something, then DC's got to do it. Yes, stop.
A large part of that is because the talent works for both companies. Same writers, same editors, same pencilers, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, they're always vying for the same talent, right?
Well, that talent is pooling the same ideas across platforms.
You think on the internet? This was going on long before
across publishers.
Okay.
Creative team A is over here working at Marvel. They get a better deal to go work.
So you're saying that the pond is only so big.
Well, that's where a lot of these.
Then why doesn't more of it spill over into like IDW?
That's where a lot of these similarities are coming from.
Right. I got you. I got your point.
Because IDW doesn't pay Marvel and DC money, so you get the bare bottoms. You get the scraps of the good ideas.
Okay, but there's also Dark Horse. There's also, there's indies. There's what's their big competitor? Maybe Image. Maybe Image has ripped off some of that stuff. I mean, they came directly. The founders came directly out of Marvel.
I think part of it is because Marvel and DC both, their primary theme is superheroes. So they have a extremely similar genre, the way I see it. So they're probably like, okay, so it's going to roughly work the same way at Marvel or DC.
And on that, Rex, check private chat. I got that information you wanted. Okay. I got to go cook dinner for the family. So I'm going to bounce out of here.
Peace out, brother. Good to see
Liuzzi,
you.
good to see you. Jared, nice to see you, sir.
You too.
Rex.
Thank you, sir.
Jared,
How you
good to
doing?
meet you, brother.
You too.
Anthony, you got, I mean, he's primarily a DC guy, Elsie. You have, while I write this down, do you have a question or some, you know, a comment to say to Jared while I write this down?
The DC guy? Yeah.
He's a DC Comics guy, primarily
DC.
as far as collecting.
Do you go back a ways or you just collect new or?
In terms of right now, I'm in the post-crisis like part of it from like, I'd say like, I mean the early, actually even pre-crisis, because the earliest book I have is like from the 70s. I think it's a Superman book.
Yeah, me, I've got, you know, production art by Jack Adler, who was, you know, a lot of stuff, man. I love Sergeant Rock, man. I've got a lot of overage, brother. This
he was primarily a war reader when he was a kid.
Oh, interesting.
Horror, you know,
horror,
name it, horror, yeah, that too, man.
Yeah.
You know, but there's some DC. I mean, you know, there's also some Marvel I like too now.
Yeah, same here.
But I grew up on DC because I read it as a kid, you know.
There you go.
I said, man, good stories. Joe Kubert, man.
Oh, yes. Hell yeah.
He's awesome, you know. But there's other good ones there too now. But most of the things I had in my hand, he did, you know. So therefore, you know, he made an impact.
And that's the block of time he read in the 60s, 70s, whatever. Jared read later, but a lot of the things that he read was based on former stories too.
The old stuff, and you read it, you'll see what good writing. I mean, there was good writing. You know, especially in those war comics, those old war comics. They had some cool stories in them, man.
And they were mostly they were mostly written by one guy. I mean, that wrote that stuff forever, you know.
There you go.
But, I mean, starting back probably, I know in the 50s, he might have went back, Robert Kanigher, he might have went back to the 40s. I just don't know when Robert Kanigher started it. I probably had that. Hey,
those guys in the war.
My lips are moving. That means I'm talking. So you're kind of cutting right in.
There you go.
But you go ahead.
That's his tongue hanging out. So
okay.
Sorry, man. I'll shut up for a while.
No, I want to hear what you say, but let me finish talking first, and maybe you can't see that I'm speaking or hear me.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
I know you didn't, but anyway, just totally blew my thought like he does on the phone all the time. Anyway, I love him. This is one of the greatest guys you could ever know, Jared. Believe me. Yeah, I mean, we're closer together, even though Elsie's older than I am. By I don't know, I'm 58. How much older are you than I am? You're about 8 years. You're about 8 years my senior. Okay. Now he acts younger than I do, but
I am.
But
young.
You know, he's never lost that wonder and what. Jared's just sitting back here like,
that's all good. It's all good.
He's just enjoying the show. Yeah, we want you to enjoy the show. We want you to come back. You know,
heck yeah.
It's like we don't want you to, you know, in a few minutes when you get off, it's like, oh God, I'm never going on there again.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. All good.
Yeah. Now, Timothy Olsen had a good point. How do you call that a trident when it has more than 3 pokey things?
All right. So, I mean, the way Zach explained it is because he originally had the plan for 5 movies before Warner Brothers screwed him over. So that's like, representing that. Plus, I'm not sure if it's actually like called a Trident. I've seen some that have
Right.
like
That might have
more
been my
than-
mistake, Timothy, calling it a Trident. You know.
No, but you know what's kind of funny? On the box it came on, it said Trident. It was actually it was like a DC collectible from like, what was it? From like the original cut of Justice League, and it had Trident on it. So I'm like, well, that's not right.
Right. Well, you see Doc Blaylock, who did that, was in here earlier with the bad hat. Oh, no, not really. You know, had I went to Walmart and they got the Aquaman collection or what they collect. I don't know what it was, but anyway, it had the Trident on the cover. I was like, that's the Trident that we put on my trailer. So I'm using Aquaman's trailer, you know, on my phone, my comic thing. But it works. You know, it works. Yeah, I mean, you know, if it was good, I didn't care if it was. I read a lot of Legion of Superheroes. You know, there was some artists I didn't care for, but I'm glad that I read and I enjoyed the stories, even though the art might have not been my style. I'll tell you what, George Perez could always draw me in.
Yes,
he was doing Legion of Superheroes cover, but inside there was this little known guy called Steve Ditko that I didn't know, and he would do the interiors. Now I wish it was all done by George Perez, but looking back on it, it was perfect. You know, I mean, I needed to be exposed to Steve Ditko.
I recently read the first like couple of volumes of his Wonder Woman run, and good Lord, does that man draw?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And yet I grew up with his earlier stuff, you know, like when he fairly close to when he first started, about 1976. You know, he started a few years earlier than that, but his early stuff that wasn't as polished, but it was still darn good stuff. I mean, the very first Avenger I saw had an upshot, a worm's eye view, but it was way off in the distance too, perspective. And it just, from that splash page, it just captured me. You know,
there you go. That's what good art.
It didn't even have a George Perez cover, but the interiors are what really sold me on it. I know I didn't even much care for the cover, although I thought it was pretty good. But looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, this is really a sucky cover to get started on. It was, and I like Rich Buckler, but it was just like the Avengers fending off against some people throwing bricks and stuff. It wasn't anything spectacular.
Well, that should be easy for them because they're the Avengers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Now they were being controlled by the Serpent Crown, and I think, and they had some members way in the background there of the Squadron Supreme. You know, Hyperion and all those characters.
One of my favorite Marvel things. But so what Marvel did?
Well, yeah, I mean, basically they're Justice League, right?
No, but it gets worse. So a couple of years ago, they were putting out a Squadron Supreme book, and the design for their Wonder Woman is legit Wonder Woman from DC, but black and gold armor. And I was like,
yeah, exactly. It's that incestuous, we'll rip off your ideal.
Even I was like, wait a second here. Something doesn't feel right with this.
Yeah, it never feels right to me when they just swap each other. It's like, golly, can't we get some original material? I mean, I know there's only so many stories you can tell, but if you got a good storyteller like Elsie was talking about and Robert Kanigher, he can tell those war stories or whatever. That's not all he wrote, but that was kind of his jam, you know. I don't know.
You were there.
I was about to say I didn't know if he was military and was there, or I really and I actually have a book on Robert Kanigher. I just haven't read it. But
cool.
But I know he was kind of a difficult guy to work with at sometimes, you know, but then you couldn't be a wallflower either. These were back in the days where it was like tough broad, you know, publishing, get it out and do the job. And
them guys, they were sticklers for detail, and they wanted an M16 to look like an M16. They wanted the right
authentic
kind of wood.
Oh, I mean, what Joe Kubert did in like the annuals or the back of some of those issues where they actually showed you the military hardware, and Joe Kubert would render all that stuff, the planes, the tanks, the handguns, everything. You just can't, you got to research that stuff, and you just can't hardly find an artist that wants to draw that type of stuff nowadays.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it really was like going to school and learning something. Comics were informative. For me, the stuff that I read, it was new words that I had not been exposed to, and new concepts, new stories, new ideals, new imagining.
You saw the comprehension of that word. Now you knew what that word meant.
Well, you put it in context.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I might not, there were certain words I didn't know, like I mentioned the other day when I read the Eclipse comic that started in 1983, ran for 15 issues, Aztec Ace, sort of an Indiana Jones time traveler. And I'd never read the word a doppelganger before.
Oh, okay.
And that was the first time I'd ever seen what is a doppelganger, and later found out what a doppelganger was, but that's one of those words that's been around a long time, but just I'd never read till I saw it in a comic,
Awesome.
My dad would say, go look it up.
Right. You could go look it up. Yeah.
He wouldn't look it up for me. He'd make me do it.
Well, yeah, because that way you learn. You have to learn how to do this stuff.
Shadowhawk said, loved all the original Image stuff. Too bad the big two got a hold of most of the good stuff.
Yeah.
Is he talking about like buying out Top Cow and stuff like that?
I think what he's talking about is like when Jim Lee went over to DC and they bought like Wildstorm, and then all of a sudden the Wildcats started appearing in the DC universe, but were butchered by creatives that didn't understand the characters.
Did you read Trinity of Sin? That's with Zealot and Phantom Stranger and Dead Man.
I think I did. The title sounds very familiar.
Yeah, I read it in trade paperback. I might have some of the original floppies, but it was actually a pretty good story. And they said the Phantom Stranger, which was a DC or National Comics, as they were called
at the time,
he goes all the way back to the 50s as a character. Not the oldest character DC has, but he's up there. He's an early character. I didn't realize at first when I saw him for, back in the 60s with Neil Adams and others doing him, Mike Kaluta, in the 70s. I didn't realize that Phantom Stranger went back to the 50s, but I later learned that. But anyway, in that story, Trinity of Sin, which they were kind of judging those three, Grifter that came out of Image, or not Grifter, but Zealot, the female lead. And then you had Dead Man and you had Phantom Stranger. And they made Phantom Stranger Judas.
Oh, yeah.
In the story, the apostle that betrayed Jesus. I thought that was actually interesting. And, they actually did the crucifixion scene with all three of the characters.
Oh, geez.
In that story, toward the end when they were kind of being judged. They were hanging on like some types of cross. I found it to be a pretty good story, but cool. He didn't start out with, but he did have like a medallion that he wore, and that was supposed to be the 30 pieces of silver around his neck.
Cool.
And that was why they kind of made him immortal. I thought that was an interesting,
that's pretty cool,
new development in the character. After decades of use, they kind of identified who the Phantom Stranger was in that story. I didn't see that coming.
No. I like when I love it when they can actually do that and like really surprise me with like how they can link this character, because Phantom Stranger is one of those characters that doesn't get a lot of attention, even though he so deserves it. So it's like, so I like when they can actually do stuff that can revitalize characters like that.
Yeah. Well, there's some characters kind of like the Silver Surfer at the very beginning, back in the, Stan Lee didn't want to use him. there was a time period for 5 years he didn't make an appearance because he wanted to use him on special occasions. But I would say that there's some characters like Wolverine and others, they suffer from overexposure. Now, with that being said, you always have your heroes that are always going to be in the public's eye, like Superman. Is he overused? Yes. I wish they would slow down and do less with him, but better quality. But that's with any character. But there's some, like you say, like the Spectre or Deadman. But, you know, like Justice League Dark, I like that. That's a good take on Justice League because you get to see sort of the magical Eldritch characters like Swamp Thing and Constantine and a Black Orchid, or is it Black Orchid?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
And how they made even the like Batmobile. That's a character all in itself.
Yes, it is.
Batcave, that's a, you know, same thing with the House of Mystery, House of Secrets. Even though to a lesser degree, they've actually, and especially in the animated, I take it you get the DC animated stuff.
Yep.
That they've made these entities or these environments, the House of Mystery, the House of Secrets, into characters. I love it.
Really cool.
Yeah. Almost like a nexus where you open a door to a room and you might wind up in space. You open another door, you might wind up in hell. You open up another door, you might be in Antarctica. I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. I love that concept, you know.
Pretty cool.
They did that for an animated short where like Constantine was being punished. So they put him in the house in one of those houses. And what's kind of funny is that his punishment was he had to keep dying.
Yeah. Wow. And do you have a Walmart where you're at, Jared? Where are you located? What state are you in?
Florida.
Okay. I went down to Gainesville. That's as far down, you know, about an hour below Gainesville. So driving time. So I've been toward the center of the state, but that's as far down as I've been. What part of the state are you in?
I'm in South Florida.
South Florida. Okay. So you're on the tip. You're pretty close.
Pretty close, I would say.
Yeah.
I'd say.
You're in Hurricane Alley.
Oh boy, is that an understatement? Yes, that is. Yes, I am.
Now your love for Aquaman, I get it.
That makes sense. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'd have dodged tornadoes down here, buddy.
Yeah.
You're now Aquaman for decades. Started back in the 40s, was a secondary character.
Yep.
He had backups in like Adventure Comics, things like that. That's when he had the yellow gloves, folks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Your top 5 artists to draw Aquaman, if you had them from any time. Go.
Oh, okay. George Perez.
Yeah. He's done him. I know he did him on the cover of the Who's Who handbook.
That Aquaman they bogged out on Aquaman because he got the short end of the stick for a long time.
Yeah,
even on
Super Friends cartoon. That's why. It's because the public saw him as a joke because they saw him as the dude that's like surfing on
I don't. Dolphins. I see him as Superman underwater. If you can,
that's what he actually is.
You know, if radiation or he didn't have to breathe, you know, a vacuum. I mean, he can withstand the pressures of all that water. You could absolutely transport him or throw him in an airlock, and he could actually survive for a little while outside in space.
Yeah. So,
Jared, do you think they did the same thing with Submariner? Kind of gave him the short end of the stick.
I would say probably. He's kind of Aquaman, only he's a less like morally like he's a little bit more of aggressive Aquaman is what he
was
is.
Kind of like the first anti-villain.
Kind of, yeah.
You know.
But he was cool. But really,
well, he was in a lot of the golden age that we don't see today unless we read them in the he had the first crossover with any character, the Human Torch, and they fought, which was reprinted in one of the fantasy masterpieces in the 60s. You probably have it, Elsie. And where they fight, that's reprinted from back in the 30s or early 40s when it happened. I think it was 39 actually, because he goes way back. He goes back to the late 30s around when Superman came out. But he was in a lot of those Marvel comics or Marvel mystery comics or whatever. He was around, and they even had a triangular head. You ever seen that version of him where he had a flat top and had a triangular head? It's like, what the hell's going on here? I guess
where are you from?
I guess it was the artist style. They wanted to make him look different from Earth humans, Atlantean.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but I don't know that it was a conscious effort to make either one of them a secondary character. I think it's just kind of like they didn't take off like certain others. They didn't have a fan base, so they were kind of designated to a secondary. But now, especially in the 80s when you had like, let's do a Cloak and Dagger, a new character, or they're fairly new, give them a limited series. Let's take Mike Zeck and do Punisher, a limited series. Let's put the focus on them.
Yeah.
And they got some more love. And I always think television or movies or something help comics.
Aquaman. That definitely helped Aquaman.
The Filmation Aquaman of the 60s. I think the comic came first. He had his own title, but that had to help his title.
It helped it.
Kind of like the Batman 66 helped Adam West.
Yeah.
And Burt Ward in their show.
Portray them either, because look at Batman 66 compared to the new ones.
Yeah. They're vastly different.
Yeah, but I mean, they've actually got a Batman 66 and they have for years and people love it. The classical characters seen in comics, it's a no-brainer. Like Herculoids, they never really got here and there. They were never in comics. And then when a few years ago, when DC was doing that stuff, I loved it. That, they brought Johnny Quest in and the Banana Splits and, Harley Quinn and the Banana Splits. No brainer. It's awesome. Yeah. I want to buy that. It's, I'm glad that they finally got the rights to do some of those properties because they need more. They need more exposure. If they had a monthly Herculoids that was done good, like drawn by Rocketeer Dave Stevens, that would be my wet dream. Herculoids drawn by Dave Stevens. Of course, he's gone now. But yeah, someone's echoing. That's Elsie. He's going to echo till I send him a 99-cent pair of earbuds.
There you go.
And I'm going to bust his chops till he gets a pair. Or in a few days, I have the money. I'll take it from the campaign. I'll send him a pair. Better than the 99 cent.
In terms of Aquaman being a badass, I really didn't take the character seriously until like in the Justice League movie where he was surfing on the Batmobile. And I'm like, okay, this dude is actually pretty dope.
Well, I mean, he's Superman underwater.
Yeah,
if you can survive all that pressure.
Yeah.
If you can survive a shark attack, he's got to get attacked.
They did
from time to time.
In Rebirth, he fought Superman and beat the crap out of him.
And I bet everybody went boo.
No, I went. Happened. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like Elsie said, back in the 70s, they had Aquaman in the I think it was season 3. They had Aquaman in the trailer at the beginning of every Super Friends, but he did not make one episode of the whole season. Just the trailer. He wasn't in one episode. He didn't get any love whatsoever that year. He's always been. You might as well put the Wonder Twins in Action Comics and throw Superman out. It's like, what's going on, man?
The other thing that helped is during the new 52, one of the books they relaunched was Aquaman, written by Jeff Johns, drawn by Ivan Reyes, and that's like where they really like emphasize like how much of an actual complicated character Arthur is. So I really appreciated that one.
Yeah. I'm just going to mute you, and you can unmute yourself, Elsie, when you have a comment to make, so that we cut out some of that echo for people. Yeah, I mean, we could talk Aquaman with you for a long time. Is he your favorite character?
Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman are my favorites, but Aquaman is close. It really goes Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and Arthur.
Okay. So what are you currently reading?
A lot of it is, yeah, there you go. Superman and Action Comics, Batman and Detective Comics, Wonder Woman, which I have very mixed feelings on, both Green Lantern books, and I'm trying to think, what else am I reading? It's a lot. Probably, if they launch an Aquaman book, I'll read it, and if they launch it, I'm waiting for them to relaunch the Justice League.
It seems like they do different iterations from time to time, especially during the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to be distracting, but thanks anyway. It seems like, he gets limited series. You remember the white and blue costume that he got in the 80s, and then he lost a hand and had a harpoon, and then he had a water hand. I mean, he's had a beard and mustache. I mean, they've had different iterations. I don't think they know what to do with Aquaman.
No, they clearly don't.
I think he's kind of like Hawkman. He's probably through the years had kind of a convoluted origin too.
Kind of. They've kind of settled on the one used in the movies, but it seems to me like, yeah, he's one of those characters, like, ironically, Wonder Woman, that DC really doesn't know what to do with, which is sad.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd think after all these decades, they'd have a pretty firm handle. I know they have different writers coming in all the time, but some of them used to stay, like Denny O'Neil, or some of these used to stay all that time. And, unless Marvel made them a better offer, you would think that they would have a better handle on their lore. And they're always... buy the DC Encyclopedia hardcover, slipcase, whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things. Okay. And then when you get back, I'll get something to drink and you can ask him a question. This the stuff Elsie does. I love it.
It's all good.
He's the closest thing I have to a brother, but he's like, here, let me tell you, I've got to go just go get a drink. Let me do the show. Damn. You're distracting. Oh, look, this is, I don't care. I'm trying to talk. I'm trying to flow a thought here with Jared.
That's good.
And get off of Aquaman onto other stuff, because I know you have a podcast. You shared a couple of links with me. And I think earlier, I'm going to drop them again in the chat. I dropped them initially in the chat. And you can tell me what these are, because I dropped them and highlight them for you.
So that one is my website, which basically all that is, it's a one-stop shop in terms of all the stuff I upload to YouTube goes on the website as well. That's where you can contact me, and all my bio is all there. Okay.
And then we have your Instagram,
where basically with that, I highlight a lot of the shows I do with, like, on my friends' channels, on my channel, and it's basically that and Twitter are like my main, like, ways of interacting with people.
Okay. All right. Besides collecting, what do you and podcasting and being a family guy, what do you do? I mean, what do you like to do?
Well, obviously I'm a gamer, so I play Halo. I play Suicide
Well, I didn't know that. You say obvious. It's not obvious to me at all.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm a gamer, so I play, like, Call of Duty, Halo, Suicide Squad. Obviously, any DC game I'll play, particularly the Arkham games. So I really enjoy those. And
I mean, is Marvel and DC, with some of this stuff going on in politics or whatever, the woke crowd, the argument about all that, are they hurting their brand?
To a degree, yes. I think some of it has been overblown, particularly
Sure.
with DC, because I'm of the opinion that the pendulum is swinging away from politics.
Yeah, it's going to swing both ways. It's going to come back on them hard, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So really, the way I see it is, it's like you're starting to see a lot more of these air quotes woke books being canceled or like being not highlighted anymore. And eventually, eventually DC is going to get the message where you can't market so hard with politics where you're already in a niche market with comic books. You can't tell half your audience to go away because you don't agree with our politics.
Well, I mean, even if they're not preaching that, you know, go away. If you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. They're, you know, they're, I mean, just a couple of stories here. You know, when the Milestone books relaunched, I got all 5 and was thinking, okay, $12.50 plus tax. Do I want to buy these? Because they're first issues, and they had to release 5 on the same month. They can't just release them little bit by little bit. They got to hit
they can't.
For all 5.
They can't. They got to drown you.
I opened up one. I don't know which one out of those 5 new releases, and I turned to a page. And they've got a big scene of Black Lives Matter protesting. I'm like, I can get this crap on the TV, folded it up, put all 5 back, said, I don't want this junk. Went to Best Buy, got the Ray on DVD.
I see where this is going.
And up to that time, I bought everything animated DC. If they had a new release, I bought it. Everything, whether it was my jam or not, everything.
Yeah.
With that one project where, hi, I'm right, I'm gay, and all that stuff. Now I'm picky about what I you know.
Well, you gotta be, because the problem with that is that it starts to get like exploitative after a while. Like eventually, even people in those communities are starting to like to see that they're just being used for marketing. That's it.
I hope so, because you know, when that baker, you know, the baker was saying, being sued, and he's been sued multiple times. They're trying to put him out of business. You know, the only other person I can think of that's been before, besides Joe the plumber and others that have been attacked, you know, it may be Nancy Pelosi's hairdresser. She was ran out of California by Nancy Pelosi and the left. She could not. There was no way. I mean, they would protest in front of her business every day for months if it took it to drive her out of California. There was no way. She should have known that, you know, if I out her, I'm done here. I got to move on, which is probably the best thing. Move out of California, folks.
Well, yeah, that's
it's
true.
Lost. It's burning. Although I know there's a lot of conservatives there. I wish we could just flood that state and, you know, and take it back to, you know, but it's not going to happen, folks. You better get to a safer place that doesn't want to. But anyway, it's, you know, yeah, I got a lot of respect. These 2 gay women came out, lesbians, obviously, you know, Rex. Yeah. Anyway, they said, you know what? We have a bakery. And if somebody said, I want an anti-gay cake made for me, they wouldn't want to do that. Just like that man says it's a matter of conscience, religious belief. I don't want to do that. I reserve the right to withhold my business from something that I don't want to make. And they totally said, we would want to do the same thing. If somebody said, would you make me an anti-gay cake? They would say, no, we don't want to do that. You know, they would have the right to do that. But, you know, you have not the right to be a dissenter, to have an opinion that is opposite from what may be trending, which might be a good thing when it's mob mentality. You might be the one man or woman standing in the room saying, stop, this is crazy. That doesn't make the mob the majority right at that point.
I've had my own encounters with the mob because I'm very outspoken on my channel that I can't stand Lois Lane as a comic book character, and I put out a video talking about why I didn't like her, and I practically got burned down the comments. There were most people were like, "Thank God someone said it," but I also had people saying that like I was a misogynist for saying I don't see the use of Lois Lane to Superman. Then I said, "You realize I'm advocating for him to be with Wonder Woman instead of Lois. You do realize that, right?"
Did we wander off topic, Blue Squatch? I don't know what top. Yeah, tell me what topic you want, and we'll talk about it. Yeah, I and Elsie, we collected all the Walmart 100 pagers. I wanted to ask you about where you were. That's what that was leading to was. Do you have a Walmart around you? And yes, you do, right? Because you're in Florida, I think you do. They had the 100 page, and they had like original stories. They had that one that was controversial, where they killed Lois Lane over and over in the story. So you must have loved that.
Well, the thing is,
you don't like the character. Are you a Margot Kidder hater? Tell me. Don't wait for the translation. Tell me now.
Yeah, I like the movie and TV version of Lois. It's the comics version I can't stand. But
you probably loved Lois and Clark then, right? Smallville
I liked a lot. My problem with Smallville is that the problem with that show is that you have all these D-list characters showing up, and I get why they couldn't have Batman and Wonder Woman show up or at least be a reference once, but they're his best friends supposedly, and they don't show up once. We got Booster Gold showing up. I'm like, wait a second here. This doesn't add up.
Did you like the Netflix Swamp Thing one season?
I did. I did.
It was good, wasn't it? I mean, it was crazy that they canceled it, really.
Before the show even aired. So I was like, wait a second here. Let me see it first.
Yeah. It had Madame Xanadu and other character that doesn't
Blue
get a
Devil.
lot of love.
I was
Swamp Thing, of course. But then you had Blue Devil. Yeah, that had never made an appearance. There's another character that carried a trident.
Yep, there you go. But I'm watching this and I'm like, because what they did is that they captured the essence of the character, the sort of horror that was like in Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. So I was like, okay, I really dig this.
Yeah. Elsie, what you got to say?
Well, I was going to ask Jared, about like where he's coming from, what's his
you're
ideas.
on mute. Wait a minute. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I was just curious, because you were talking to him about some things. I was just kind of curious to where he stood on things and what he was, his ideas, what he thinks are.
Oh, you want him to get political? Go.
No, just in today's world,
You want to get into religion too?
No. Well,
I'm sorry, I'm on medication. Let me go get something to drink. And I'll let you two talk. I'll be right back.
Well, I'd like some too. Oh, hey. No, I was just kind of wanting to know a little bit more about you personally, because I don't want to say things that might offend you or get you upset.
Trust me. There's no way you can offend me.
Because I'm like you. If I didn't like Lois Lane, I'd say so. Yeah. And that's just the way I am. And, I don't berate anybody for that.
I said on my channel, look, it's just based on what I've read. If you like Lois Lane, that's fine. That's your prerogative. I just personally don't like the character. That's it.
But I'm not a type of person that would want to say, okay, what I believe, you should believe, and if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. I'm going to attack you. I'm not that way either. Rex freaks out because sometimes I get real passionate about things that I think are right, or and then people want to force things like he was talking about. Hey, I don't got a problem with people that are have homosexuals or whatever they want to be. I mean, But I have a problem when somebody tries to force that on me, just like I would anything else. You know,
the way I say it is respect me, I'll respect you. That's totally treat me with respect. That's totally fine. I will respect you back.
That doesn't mean I condone and say everything you're doing is right, and you ought to just keep doing that because that's the best for you. Not if they start into that more personal, that's when I'll tell them how I feel. You know.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, you know, I'm not one who people would think I would attack them, you know, because of any certain reason, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a kind of a country, you know. I think to me, I mean, I'm for Israel, okay. That's what I believe, you know. But that other people aren't, and I'm not hating them or saying they're wrong. I just know what I believe and what I feel and what I should do, you know. And if things, you know, like that sometimes, you know, on like the channel we're on now, you know, I don't know what I should or shouldn't really talk about because I don't want people coming in on my buddy's channel and getting all upset because I said something, you know, because him and I about anything, you know, we don't offend each other. You can't offend me, really. I mean, you know, you'd have to get over and try to hit me, you know, then I'd be upset. But other than that, I'm pretty thick-skinned, you know.
Yep, same here.
You know, but I was just kind of wondering where you were at. You know, you're in comics. I don't even know if you draw comics, you colorist, or you a writer. Or, you know,
I'm in the process of writing, so I'm in the process. I have a project in the works. It's not like ready to be launched on any crowdfunding stuff yet, but I'm in the process of starting a story.
Yeah, I mean, do you work a job? Do you have like a day job, or do you?
Yeah, typically I work from 7 a.m. to 3. I work from home, and then when I'm done with that, I go do podcasting stuff. I game with friends. I hang out with family. That type of stuff.
Well, I was kind of wondering just a little bit about you. You know what you do, and kind of, you know, just know who I'm talking to, kind of. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I said, I'm a retired teacher.
LZ wants you to dox yourself. He wants your social security number and credit cards, and you know.
I've always been taught you ask for personal information, you turn me off. Okay.
That's good. I love that.
Just send my address to Nigeria and Singapore.
Well, yeah, hey, go ahead. I did have someone from Vietnam use my debit card. I told them I wasn't in Vietnam, and they gave me my money back. Because I wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
I hadn't been out of America, you know, really off this continent. But like I was saying, I taught school for 30 years, mostly here in Jackson. Like, you know, I've lived here 30 years. And, you know, and I've been friends with this old boy up here since college, you know.
Well, don't blame me for that.
Together, you can't. There's probably not anything you can come up with that we hadn't done.
Thank you, Kerry. That's true. He knows where all the bodies are buried. Anyway, shared your sign-up page on Doc's show. Thank you. Let everyone know. Yeah, we're launching February 3rd. Yeah.
Everybody.
Why are your thoughts on buttered spaghetti or sausage? I'm sorry. Oi Savaloy. LZ, you are a gent and a diamond. So thoughtful, and you always put your point across eloquently.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Janet from another planet. Live long and prosper, Janet. She was better in the movies than in the comic. Who was
Lois.
We talking about? Oh,
yeah,
Lois.
She was.
Yeah, she is. She 100% is.
Yeah. Man, I've been watching a lot of Star Trek, Janet. I just haven't, and we have talked about it from time to time. Janet talks about everything Star Trek. Are you a Star Trek fan, Jared?
I haven't caught up on like the newer stuff. I've.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. We really
nice. I've seen most of the original series and and Next Gen. I watch Voyager, and I watch the movies. That's about the extent of my Star Trek.
Well, I've said it before. Farscape, Voyager, they have two things in common. They're way out there, and so you can do anything you want.
Yeah, exactly.
You're way out there. You're away from Earth. You can rewrite all the rules. Have new. You don't have to cut the Klingons or the Borg if you don't want. You can have brand new. You can do anything you want. Now with Farscape, that wasn't a problem because it was all new, but it was not tethered to Earth, and although that had bipedal, of course, actors playing characters, and really thinking about it, with their body makeup, body paint, and different things, it was a lot like Star Trek in some ways, and then also Doctor Who. They had a lot of that.
Well, school, Rex. All we grew up on was the cereal.
The cereal of what?
Star Trek. We grew up watching that cheap as they could make them movies of Star Trek, and they were futuristic to us, man. They were awesome.
Oh yeah, you had the cell phone called a communicator, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you had an MRI scanner, handheld, whatever. It was very futuristic, and it dared to dream, and it really influenced the whole generation.
Yeah, it did.
How many times was Doohan approached, and they said, I became an engineer because of your character on Star Trek.
Yeah.
Or how many times was DeForest Kelley approached and said, I became a doctor or a nurse or whatever because of your character McCoy.
There you go.
Yeah. Or I became a politician because of William Shatner's Kirk. Well, that one maybe didn't fly, but
cell phone because of the phaser.
I don't know what you're talking about. Tell me again. I don't know. It's like William Shatner, man. He's one of a kind, man.
Yeah, he is. He's awesome.
Just amazing. It's just amazing, man. I would like to cut the top of his eye and scoot and see what's in there.
Yeah, we'll see.
I really would like to, have been a parasite laying dormant in his brain for the last 80 years and see what he's all about. He's an interesting actor, interesting guy.
He is. He definitely is.
Is he? I'm not saying he's not talented, but is he Laurence Olivier or you know what I'm saying? Could he do Hamlet? No,
he was.
But for what he does, he's entertaining.
Yeah, he is.
I like him sitting on the balcony smoking cigars, talking about the day. And that lawyer movie. What was it called?
No clue. I'm hearing crickets.
Shatner was the lawyer.
Well, he's done. He was T.J. Hooker. He was, he did so many. He was White Apache or whatever. He's done some wild stuff, man. He made the one. He made the one in the early '60s before he made it big. He did the one movie that Roger Corbin actually lost money on a heavy topic of racism, and he played the racist in that. I forget the name of it. I have a copy of it, but it's worth a watch. Anything with William Shatner is worth a watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He can hold your attention.
Yeah, he can.
I think he could have played an extra in the background, and he probably would have been like Steve McQueen, always loading the gun or doing his hat or doing something to get your attention off the main actors and onto him.
Yes, he 100%.
Yeah, he's I'm going to mute you again just to for a moment, Elsie. That he's a bolsterous actor. He's almost an actor when he comes on the scene. He's the coffee stain on your piece of artwork that you weren't. He's like, how'd that get there? He's he won't be ignored. He's an actor that, and from what I take it, on some of the commentaries, on some of the I said X-Men. No, uh, on some of the Star Trek stuff, the original Star Trek special edition. He was funny guy. He was always hamming it up and cracking behind the scenes all the time. And I know I've not gotten into the friction of a lot of the debate about the other actors. You know, I know he's been called out or rumored, I guess. I don't know how much of this is real and unreal, that he was like kind of demanding about, you know, Captain Kirk needs more close-ups or this or that, or that there was tension, or not everything was, you know, 60s chuckles, put your arms around your friends, you know, Gene Roddenberry. There were problems when Star Trek was being made, apparently.
Well, yeah, because and you think about it, Captain Kirk was like the star of that show for the most part. I mean, yeah, you had Spock, you had Scotty, you had Uhura, but Kirk is the dude when you think of the original series.
He was the hub that all the spokes ran off of.
Exactly.
He was the guy in charge. And whether you like Spock better than you do McCoy, or you like McCoy better than, and you can identify with him or Scotty or something more than Captain Kirk has the final say. He is the guy in charge that's running the pace and solving the mystery every week, right? Yeah. And all together, I wish they hadn't have done with away with his ensign, Yeoman Rand.
Yeah.
You know, she was beautiful in the first season, but I could understand they didn't want to tether him to one girl because he was like space whore, right?
My uncle has a saying that like, you know how like in Star Trek they say there are 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds. My uncle rewrote that to say his 5-year mission is spread VD throughout the galaxy.
Wow, space VD.
Yeah, there you go.
Makes me itch just thinking about it. Yeah, but I mean, he would sleep with blue skins, green screen skins, you know, all, you know, whoever was the luring of the week, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
But what, you know, I mean, let's face it, he was in his prime. He was captain. He was on the flagship. He was top dog in the Federation.
Yeah.
There was nobody bigger than, I mean, yeah, there was in rank like admiral, and he still had to take orders, but he was
to a degree, Kirk was the dude that when he walked into a room, everyone stood up and was like, "Oh, it's James Kirk."
Yeah, you didn't ignore him, and that's the way William Shatner was, you know. And that was great. He was on the frontier. He was Lewis and Clark all rolled up into one.
Yeah.
He was going, it was just like Voyager, Farscape, to boldly go where no one has gone before. Now we know the Romulans. Now we know the Vulcans. And we know the Klingons and all these others. But then we didn't. It was all new. He was that wagon train to the stars, as it was sold about. He was going to a new frontier. It just wasn't out west or America or the Australian outback. It was out in space somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
To boldly go where no one had gone before.
Yeah.
And TV had not gone that way before. And it's been better, I think, since then.
To a degree.
You know, they were trailblazers.
Yeah.
And often trailblazers don't get credit till much later.
No, they do not.
Not everybody's an instant success. If you're truly a trailblazer, you're probably ahead of your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're underappreciated. And maybe not even in your lifetime.
Kind of like
But those geniuses that really make a mark, they're the quiet people sitting in the corner that you don't notice at the time. Even Jesus, when he came on the scene, people would walk into a room and not even know who he was.
Yeah, exactly.
And some of them followed him around with him, and they still didn't know who he was. So, you know, who am I but another man? You know, I'm just saying, you know, and most of us aren't going to be remembered, folks. If I said, Jared, give me your top 100 people of history that you remember or know of. You would strain at that. But if I say, give me 500 or 1,000, and you the low hanging fruit, Hitler, Mussolini, Toto, that was a musical group anyway. Tito,
George Washington, Ben
James.
Franklin.
I mean, you might name some of the presidents,
Yeah.
But I mean, most people aren't remembered in history, and very little.
Yeah.
If I said, write me a story, write me everything you know about George Washington, it'd probably be a short story.
Yeah.
Now, unless you've researched him,
exactly.
But by and large, most of us are not going to be remembered. We'll probably, the memory of us will die out in 100 years or less. And that's only because we have children or grandchildren or whatever that'll kind of tell others about us a little bit.
Yeah.
But most people aren't remembered, or they're a blurb.
Yeah.
And that's sad. But, if it's a major, somebody decides to turn the light switch off on existence and everything just disappears, it's not going to matter anyway. Not that I'm a nihilist, but I do believe, and Elsie does too, in an afterworld, an afterlife. This is just the beginning. This is the rehearsal.
Exactly.
For something better. It's got to get better. I mean, we've already
can't get any worse than this.
Yeah, well, you say that.
Yeah, I say that, and I'm like,
and then I go by the gay Ray, and I'm like, what the? And they were doing the same thing in DC Legacy,
Yeah.
And it put me off. I became, and now they're doing Harley Quinn animated with Poison. I don't want to. I'm sorry.
That show is horrible. I checked out the minute they started having public orgies in the streets of Gotham, and I'm like, no, I'm out.
I would rather see a good Orville or good Star Trek than Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Although Lower Decks, I bought the first season of that. It's fine. Can we not get serious about some of these properties?
No, we can't. We can't.
And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. The original designers of the original Star Trek, a few sets, a few backlighting, done like Doctor Who, whatever, on the cheap. They were designing stuff from the dumpsters.
Oh, what they got away with back then,
but you could do it today. And
you could.
If you tell a good story, or even if the story's not written well, but it has a good concept, people would love it.
Yeah.
There's fan-made movies on the internet every day that are better than what the big corporate guys are doing.
Yeah.
It's sad. We could tell good stories. Have we lost the ability to tell good stories? I mean, you do a podcast. Basically, you're a storyteller.
Well, not only that, what I started doing on my channel is I'll splice together like clips from DC movies and make stories out of those.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, we all borrow from different things, right? Like if I wanted a good war story, I'd say, Elsie, give me the outline, the story for a war story, because he's read a lot of war stories, and he knows war comics better than I do. Now, he might have to get a few volumes and refresh his thinking, but I bet you he could come up with one hell of a war story.
Yeah.
Because that was his jam.
Yeah, exactly.
You learn from Picasso. Picasso says never borrow something, steal it. As an artist.
He also said art is a lie that tells the truth.
And he also said it's very, every child's an artist, but it's very hard to remain one. That's the hardest part.
True.
I don't know what.
The bomb story.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Luke Sasquatch. So
maybe that's a title.
Could be.
So, Jared, your podcast is every day or every other day, or
so on the channel we do different shows. Like on Mondays, I release what's called Super Wonder Legacy, where I talk about the history of Superman and Wonder Woman each week with a buddy of mine. Tuesdays, a friend of mine and I are rewatching all of the animated Justice League show, and then we're discussing it on the show.
I love Justice League Unlimited.
That got me 100% to DC, because previous to that, I only knew about Superman and Batman because of the movies. I didn't know who like Green Lantern was. So it's like in this episode, like all these characters, I'm like, who the hell are you people?
Right.
I didn't know who Hawker was. And then on Wednesday, I do a short, like a 5 to 10 minute commentary on like what I think about the current Wonder Woman run, what the issues I see facing comics or something like that. Thursdays, I normally take off. Fridays, I release.
Slacker.
Yeah, thank you. Fridays, I release my main podcast, Under Two Caves, which is basically like 45 minutes to an hour and a half, where like a couple of friends of mine and I just gather and talk about whatever we want to in terms of comics, like our favorite like Batman stories, our favorite this, our favorite that. And on Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, we do obviously the news show, where it can be like anything that happened during the week that's like interesting and trendy. And
so you're going to have me on Friday?
No, yeah. And then in terms
well,
of like,
don't say it that way. I'm serious, you know.
Oh, of course.
I'd love to come on.
Anytime.
And, you know, and you got a good excuse this week.
Yeah, exactly.
I went on his show, so we can talk about that and Devil Flyer and some other things. Hey, I need to help.
Heck yeah.
No.
And then
go ahead though. But Friday nights you do that, and then
my last show I do is Saturdays. We do what's called a movie night, where we just talk about we pick a movie, whether or not it's like an animated like this week we're doing The Long Halloween parts 1 and 2. We'll watch that and then we'll talk about it and stuff.
You have a pretty good following.
I have in terms of YouTube, I have 867 subscribers, so I'm growing. The longest time I was stuck on 32 subs, and that took forever until I started collabing with people and like bringing more people into the channel.
Exactly.
And then just skyrocketed up.
It was the same way here. You know, you might do a good show by yourself, but they want to see other people, diversity opinions. Once I started having other people on, it started, you know.
Well, that too. But what I always tell people is that collabing is half of it. Your content that you have on your channel also has to be up to par, because then, yes, you got people that come to your channel. Now
thanks for calling me out for what I don't do.
Okay, but my point is it nice? My point is you have to have content to make people stay. So it's like with me, I got lucky enough that people like my stuff. So they're like, okay, so I came from, let's say.
Why are you busting me in the nether region right now? I mean, I don't do any of that.
Don't worry.
Carrie has a question. Jared, do you have a YouTube channel?
Yes, I do. It is called Comics League, and I'll put the link in the private chat for you to share.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, here you go. Yeah, so I do like a lot of stuff.
Says, "Damn, he's back."
Thank
God, he's gone.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, they love me around here, I think.
It's a gamble. So there you go.
Yeah, it is a gamble. That's a good way to put it. So I can't believe I'm not subscribed to you yet, but I am now.
Oh, thank you.
869 subscribers, 740 videos. Good for you.
Yeah, I've been hitting that hard since 2021 is when I started the channel itself.
What about your podcast? When did you start that?
That was actually like late May of 2020, because like I said before, the Snyder Cut got announced, and that kind of got me back into comics.
Did you like the 4-hour plus Snyder Cut?
Here's an indicator. I've seen it 15 times.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us.
It's my favorite superhero movie. So
wow.
Yeah, I love it.
Do you like them going dark with the DC?
Because that's what DC is. It's been going dark, particularly recently. It's been going very dark.
Well, I mean, you know, the way I look at the movies is different than the comics. Even in the Marvel universe, it's a different universe or a different reality than the comics. Mm-hmm. That's how you have to look at it.
Yes, exactly.
There's you can't reconcile all the differences.
Yeah, and the way I saw it is like with with the DC movies. With me, thank you. Really, the way I see it is, yeah, the way I always approach the movies is first off, I always try and find something of value to like in anything, because I understand the effort that goes
you
into
came on here.
making a project. Yes, but
you gave me a shot.
But of the DC movies, here's the thing.
Yeah.
When you take into account the entire arc that like Snyder was telling, yes, it starts off a little more dark because he's telling he's telling essentially the story. If Superman existed here, here's what would happen. But he still is Superman throughout the entire thing. He still defends humanity and ultimately dies. He still comes back and forms the Justice League.
Right. Yeah. Well, I really don't like that they went dark. I mean, I thought a big highlight was the first Wonder Woman movie.
Yes.
That was solid, you know, because if you stick with the original material, unless the original material didn't work and they retconned it, you know, but stick with the original material and you will have the comic fans. And I think even those fans that don't know about the original material will like it.
Oh yeah, and that's what I did. Is that I became a comic fan because of the movies, because I was like, oh, these characters are dope. Now I'm going to go back and read the books. But it's like, even when you look like Batman versus Superman, that was clearly adapted from Dark Knight Returns, one of the darkest Batman stories ever. So I was like, okay, that I understood. Do I wish they didn't kill Superman at the end of that movie? Yeah, because I think it was cramming too many stories in there. I get what he was going for from a story.
Well, I mean, it's like putting Venom in the Spider-Man third Spider-Man movie. It's
boy,
you're trying to cram too much. Again, Tobey Maguire with Sandman, great. You could do a whole movie with that. Whatever. I mean, I didn't even need the Green Goblin. You're muted, Elsie. What'd you say?
I said even Venom by itself, the movie Venom, that was good. I could accept that.
That was fine, but sticking him way back in there when you're doing the classic villains and they were making bank and let's skip to Wolverine. Let's get to him. We just can't wait. It's like, God, you know, you got the Green Goblin story, you got the Eddie Brock story, you got the Sandman story, you got Spider-Man story. It's like too much forced into one movie.
With the DC movies, so Snyder made Man of Steel, and it was profitable enough for them to want to go on with that. So then then they came to him, and get this, they said, okay, you have to build to Justice League now because we want our Avengers. He was going to give like he was going to do the whole startup. Yes, well, to a degree, but I would argue he does kind of need them. But
yeah,
my point is that Snyder was always trying to, the way his plan originally was, he was going to do a couple of Superman movies, do a Batman movie, then do Batman versus Superman, then do like Wonder Woman and like all these. He was going to build toward the Justice League. But the problem with Warner Brothers is that they were constantly trying to chase Marvel without doing what made Marvel successful, which before we got the Avengers, we got like Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, multiple of those before we got to Avengers. So when you got to that, you were like, okay, you know what? I know who these characters are and I get how they relate to each other.
Well, I think it's hubris. Even though like with Superman, he was called Kal-El, which means everything God in Jewish, you know, in Hebrew. And so that's fine. I mean, he's modern day mythology, right? We have our Hercules, we have our Zeus, our Jupiter, whatever. Our Mars characters, you know, it comes into Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman was all about.
Yeah, it was all about, particularly the Joyce Perez one, which is why I dug it so much.
Yeah, but I mean, from the very beginning, you know, the creator, he wanted, I mean, really, she was the first, I mean, you know, popular, not the first modern female superhero, but the one that really took off.
Yeah, exactly. She was the first one that really took off. That's why I call her the first lady of comics, because really she was the first one that like everyone's like, okay, this character is all. She was the first one that could hold her own book.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was all about the Amazonian, Greek,
Yeah,
sort of
exactly.
Romanesque Parthenon of, you know, of
now
mythology.
we have Elohim.
What, Elsie?
And now we have Elohim. Apocalypse. Oh.
Okay, I don't know what any of that means.
Are you talking about the X-Men character?
I mean, I know Elohim, and where was that?
What were y'all talking about?
Can you elaborate? Give me a little bit more than that, man. My mind doesn't work that way. I can't. I'm not Professor Xavier trying to read your mind here.
What were y'all talking about? Zeus?
Well, I mean, like Superman was called Kal-El. El being a synonym for a short for Elohim. Yes. But where does that?
Apocalypse said his name. He said they called me Elohim, all these names.
Yeah, he did.
Hey, Dillard.
Hey, what's up, Dillard?
Hey, what's going on, Rex? Hey, Elsie. Hello, new friend.
How you doing?
Jared's pretty cool, man.
Oh, thank you.
I'll be the judge of that. Thank you.
Okay, well, all right. I've given you a heads up. It's always good to know what to expect.
So you drew the Devil Flyer trident on the cover, Dillard. Is that a trident back there behind him? Doesn't a trident have to have three pokey things like Timothy Olsen says to be considered a trident?
I'm not like a trident Nazi or anything. It looks like a trident to me.
Okay.
That's what it said on the box when I bought it on Amazon. So
okay,
all right.
Take it. So it was called a trident. All right.
By DC.
So Jared says he likes the Snyder cut. What did you like the Snyder cut, or did you watch the Snyder cut of Justice League, Dillard?
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it?
I didn't watch the other one either, though. But
the other one was utter crap. Let me put it to you that way.
So I dodged a bullet.
Why was it crap? Well, because it was edited the heck.
Not only that, but because basically what it wasn't a Justice League movie. It was an Avengers movie, and they just pasted on the Justice League skins on top of it. That's really what it was. And I'm like, you can't transfer over. You can't take you can't transfer over Avengers level humor to DC because they're wholly different. You can try to. In some ways, they have gotten a little bit of success bringing Marvel humor to DC. What with the Aquaman movies, but really, when it comes to like the Justice League in general, you can't do that.
Such a hater.
No, it's not a pitchfork. A pitchfork is used for shoveling like manure, so it's like it has a curve to it.
Yeah,
right.
It's for scooping, but it has prongs.
Mm-hmm.
Does your trident have a curve to it, Jared?
I don't think so. Hang on.
Only when it gets real hard.
Look out!
I don't think it does.
Yeah,
that dude's bad, man.
It looks like a kebab, something. You know, what's it made out of? A resin?
I think it's wood.
I think it'll work.
Okay. So no kebabs, no barbecuing with that thing.
No
frying up.
It would look cool though.
Yeah,
cool though.
Now,
it is cool.
I've got an Indian spear.
Hey, Ben.
Is that a threat?
Snyder Cut is one of the best comic movies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is this the one where they fight Doomsday?
No. That's the previous one. This is the
Dark
one
Side.
where they actually fight Darkseid.
Yeah.
Which that's the way the comic.
Jack Kirby lore.
I was about to get in this conversation and be like, I've seen that movie. I can talk about this.
Yeah. Well, what in your estimation, Dillard, is the best comic book movie that's been made that made the biggest impact on you? Rocketeer?
Spider-Man 2?
Spider-Man 2.
All right, that's a good one. I like that one. That's a good one.
And who was the villain in that one? Remind me.
Dr. Octopus.
Oh, Dr. Octopus. Okay.
Played by the incomparable Alfred Molina.
That is the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Yeah. Like
I
love, don't get me wrong, I love, Batman 89 because that was like the first movie, like the first real like superhero movie I saw when I was like the first hero movie I ever saw was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. But I
Oh,
don't
there you go.
consider that like a superhero.
Batman that couldn't turn his neck, you know?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Hey, at least say what you want about Ben Affleck. At least he could turn his head.
Well, that's what they got wrong about Batman. Like the best Batman, the best Batman ever is the Batman from the animated series with the cape that connects here. You know, they're trying to put the cape behind the back, like over the shoulders, like he's Superman. It's ridiculous. I liked Michael Keaton's stoic Batman where he couldn't turn his neck. All these Batmans with their head turning around look like a joke.
Did you see the movie where he played the Vulture?
Of course.
Okay.
Now, it was no good. That was a no good movie. However, Birdman is an excellent movie.
But now, was his acting crap in that? It wasn't, right? I mean, anything Michael Keaton's in, he kind of captivates, doesn't he? I like it.
He's kind of like a Kurt Russell, where he kind of like steals the show everywhere he goes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he comes on and you can't ignore him, just like we were talking about Captain Kirk. He's outgoing, vivacious. He's the life of the party in a lot of ways, and he could be an extra back there, and you would still notice him because he's doing something to capture your attention.
You're talking about Shatner or Captain Kirk?
Shatner. Yeah,
because he's kind of like a fat joke in his older, like in
Boston, older years, but
like in Boston Legal, like it was like that's all he was. He was just a fucking clown,
I didn't see him in Boston Legal, but
it's a great show. It's a great show. But that show, it wasn't like Shatner stole the show. I mean, Spader carried that guy throughout almost all the seasons.
Maybe Blue Dillard cam is blurry. I just think that it's his lighting source that you're seeing, Carrie. Could his camera be in a fishbowl? What the hell?
You never know.
You guys. Well, I don't know. That would be very hard for me to, what was my favorite hero movie? That would be hard to kind of point out, actually.
You know what? My wife also has a hard time being decisive, Rex. I understand.
Well, unless I just went nuclear and said Flash Gordon. Which is a rock opera.
No, well, it's gotten to the point now that there's so many superhero movies that I understand. Like, well, honestly, it was right there, like neck and neck. Like Thor Ragnarok, to me, was like the perfect movie.
Oh yeah, it had humor in it.
And people hate that movie because
I'm one of them.
It's not Thor. That's not Thor. I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
I loved it. It was great.
Yeah. Well,
I hated Thor in the comics. He's boring as all get out.
And then you get Thor: Love and Thunder, which was
like one of the worst movies of all time. Yeah,
way worse.
But the whole, that's what heroes do, and then the boom, 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 slides down the side of the building.
Yeah,
dude, when they're going and Thor jumps out and Valkyrie jumps out and they're destroying all the planes as they're trying to make their exit up the Devil's Angle.
Or the bridge.
Some of the best stuff I've ever seen in my life, dude.
Or the bridge fight when all of a sudden he can use lightning, so he's tearing through all those zombies.
Like it's that sort of stuff, those moments that stick with you, and I'm gonna remember that moment for the rest of my life.
Him chained up and hanging, upside down at the very beginning.
Yeah,
and that's all I want. I don't want.
And the demon's trying to give his speech, but he's like, oh no, okay.
And he's turning around, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That was good.
And I don't expect a superhero movie to give me great insight into the human experience or anything or the condition. But it gave me so many, just a plethora of those little moments that I'm always going to remember in one movie. Like Ragnarok was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, I liked, it was more, I remember it more as a comedy, but it was lighthearted. It didn't take it. It's kind of like the first, or you could say all of them to a certain degree, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. It's got humor throughout it. You probably like the Avengers, Dillard, where the Hulk went bam to Loki and stomped him or threw him into the ground and
Puny
said,
God.
"Puny
Yeah,
God."
I thought that
love
was
that.
very stupid. I didn't like that
Did
whole
you?
let me punch Thor. I did like when he got Loki and smashed him.
And smashed
Oh
him
yeah,
around.
that's what I'm thinking about.
That
And
was
in
a good
Thor
part.
Ragnarok,
Yeah, right.
when they call back to that, and Loki's like, "How does it feel?"
Yeah, like that right there. When he says, "How does that feel?" I was like, "That's cringe."
That's
Oh really?
awesome.
Oh really? That's cringe.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like, what are you gonna do?
Did y'all like The Watchmen at all?
Yes,
No, it
I
was
did.
terrible.
No, I
Watchmen's
love Watchmen. I love
Yeah.
Watchmen.
I like that they made it, but it was it was okay.
I will say my favorite Marvel movie moment is Cap finally wielding the hammer.
Oh God,
That was dope. He shows
All
up.
right.
Thor's like, "I knew it."
Yeah. Well, I like that. I don't have a problem with the mythology, but they aren't gods. Okay. And in fact, the movies that I saw early on of Marvel and stuff where Captain America alluded to that's not the God that I know or whatever, everybody was like, woo, yeah, that's
There's only
Cap,
one God, ma'am, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
That was that was in character, and people like that. And then just like when he said puny God and things like that, those were the times when I was in the theater, people were going, woo, yeah, that was great that they put that in there because we've been seeing everything go anti-God and you don't mention God or, whatever. And I like it when it's done and it's done well. I think that's you genuinely nothing is off board. If you want to talk about Satanism, fine, work it into the story. If you want to talk about Christianity or anything else, I watched an old Doctor Who. I had forgotten this was in there called The Romans. One of the people, that was his whole thing at the end of the story. He was a Roman and you didn't know why he was helping her, but he's holding a cross at the end, and they don't make a big thing of it, but he was an early Christian in Rome serving under Nero, you can Star Trek bread and circuses, they were all throughout the thing. They thought they're sun worshipers. They worship a sun out in space. No, Uhura sets them straight at the end. They're not talking a physical body of light or a gaseous star. They're talking about the Son of God. You can absolutely work it into a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you said to Harlan Ellison or some other great writer, write me a story about and work Jesus into it, he could in a very innovative, good way, and I'm sure he probably did.
They kind of did that in the Constantine movie, which I thought was pretty decent.
Yeah,
they did a really good job of that in the Netflix Dracula series.
Oh, really?
At the very end, because it's kind of a lot of it's horseshit. But at the very end, because Dracula doesn't exactly know why he has the weaknesses that he has, right? Even the lady that's playing, they gender swap the lady that's playing. What's the guy? Van Helsing.
Parker. Yeah.
Yeah, Agatha. They call her Agatha Helsing. She's a nun. One of those scholarly nuns that kind of travels from monastery to monastery. But she kind of finds out at the end that it's not the sunlight and it's not the iconography of the crucifix itself that scares Dracula or even hurts him. It doesn't hurt him. He has no weaknesses. It's all just psychological. Because Jesus was content and was willing and ready to die. And Dracula is scared most of all of death. He doesn't ever want to die. And cool. that's why he fears the cross, is because Jesus was a man who was prepared to die. I was like, ooh, that's cool. So good.
That's good writing right there.
That's rethinking the mythology or putting a twist on it.
Yeah.
Looking at it through fresh eyes and not doing the same, just a different variant on the same topic. Hey, Crooked Painter. Interesting take on Dracula.
Yeah, it was.
Also saw that miniseries. Was it a miniseries on Netflix? Is
that it was 3 episodes. 3 episodes.
Are they going to do any more with that, you think?
No. Story's over. Dracula died.
Okay. Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
I resurrect him. I mean, that's never stopped Dracula before. He's died more times than I have. That's not saying much, but anyway. Gary Orway was an awesome Dracula. Yeah, he had that look, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like his ballsack head. That was stupid. It was the stupidest thing I ever saw in my life. I saw that as a kid. I saw it as a kid at the video store. I'm looking at the video case. I'm like, I don't want to watch this. Look at nutsack.
You don't know what version of Dracula you're talking about there.
Yeah, it's like, are these butt cheeks? Is it a nutsack? What am I looking at?
Did you like Van Helsing?
No.
I kind of like Hugh Jackman, Van Helsing. It's a good, bad movie, I guess. I mean, it comes under criticism. Look, I secretly think that I like things that I won't talk about because I'll be criticized for it. I like Flash Gordon, but yeah, it's a bad movie. But it's a rock opera, you know.
I love it, man.
It's got great casting, great. I mean, without the Queen music, it's dead on the doorstep. Bad movie.
Dead on
okay.
the doorstep.
But with the Queen music,
It all works in tandem, though. You can't separate the music from the movie.
No, you can't, and nor would I. But I mean, Timothy Dalton.
Any movie.
Bond, was he good in Flash Gordon? Not really. I'm not a big Timothy Dalton fan. The Hammer Christopher Lee Dracula series, it was better. Okay.
Slightly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most Hammer films.
There's not a lot of good Dracula movies.
Yeah, really. Yeah. And it's too bad because I think that should be explored more.
Yeah.
And my take, if I did Dracula, which I do have a vampire, so I will be doing the real mysterious stuff, will be like in the fog, the shroud, the shadows, a parasitic creature, vermin, it's scuttering in the shadows. That's the way I would approach it. Sort of like at the very beginnings, with Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm.
That he's genuinely
good,
scary. It wasn't till Bela Lugosi that you got more of a sexualized Don Juan Dracula that women were hypnotized by. He's the ultimate predator, really, because he's hypnotizing his women and having his way with them.
To a degree,
if you really want to break it down to basics.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. So, what is the hottest DC book going today in your today?
Hottest DC book in terms of quality, Green Lantern. Absolutely Green Lantern, because you had the Jeff Johns run, which is fantastic, and that's where you get like all the different Lantern Corps. Then they put Grant Morrison on the book, who ignored all that for some reason.
Right.
Now you have Jeremy Adams on Green Lantern, and it is fantastic. He's referencing all the right stuff. He's referencing all the great Lantern Corps, and then you have like a mystery, like why have the Guardians like quarantined Earth, and you find that out in like I believe this month's issue. So they're doing a lot with like Green Lantern. Superman is pretty good. Wonder Woman's okay because you have a writer like Tom King on Wonder Woman, so there is some issues with that. And in terms of probably, I would say the other book that I've been really reading and enjoying is also Green Lantern War Journal, which is a lot of Green Lantern stuff, but it's told from John Stewart's perspective. So instead of him being like relegated to just being a side character in Hal's book, he has his own book now, which I think is like a fantastic idea because for the longest time, like put it this way, he was my Green Lantern because I came on because of Justice League.
I agree with that, Cricket Painter, and I agree with that. Both of those were okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the sort of the genre of it. Scottish Dracula was
fun.
New. Was one of them a Scotsman?
They did a Dracula movie with Luke Evans.
I don't want to see Dracula in a kilt.
That bad.
I don't want to see Dracula in a kilt. Do you, Jared?
No. That takes away the intimidation, like way out. No, hell no.
Let me bite you on your knee.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay, I see what you're going for.
Oh, the horror.
Yeah, truly.
The
Oh, the
indignity of it
horror.
all.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I did not mean to derail the conversation towards Dracula.
You didn't? What have you been working on, Dillard? Show Jared some of what you've been working on.
I can't show anything right now.
Okay. Top secret.
Top secret stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah.
So tell me, if you told me, you'd have to kill me.
No, if I told you, I would get sued.
Oh, okay. Of course.
Yeah, he's under contract. He's under gag order.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
This is the internet. I can't do anything.
All right. Well, let me ask you this question: have you been producing any traditional artwork of late at all?
Yeah, but I got a new portfolio, and right now it's in the house. I don't have it out here in the shed.
Okay. Blue Sasquatch
finished,
reminds me. Elsie was
upper.
saying something. What were you saying, Elsie?
I was wanting to ask Dillard if he plays that guitar back there.
No, this is just I have it for sentimental reasons.
Okay. Well, what I was saying earlier was about, I like what you said about Dracula, your analogy, and when he finally figured out why he was scared to death, and he didn't understand all that. I thought that was really cool, man, because I never ever thought of anything like that about Dracula. Mm-hmm. I thought he was just who he was,
Well, it's all mythology, You can put a spin on it if you can think out of the box.
Why he might be so fearful of death? Because whereas, he'd see that cross and he go, "This dude wasn't scared of it. You are," kind of thing.
Crooked Painter says, "I just got here. Who's the guest besides Dillard?" Jared, introduce yourself again, if you would.
I'm Jared from Comics League. I'm a podcasting host that covers a lot of comic book content.
And I really didn't know that. I don't think I really knew that. I might have saw Comics League, but I did not realize you were double dip chocolate immersed into comics. Yeah. And what's currently going on with comics, actually.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I did finish that page I was working on, Rex, with you. The Buckler page. I can show that. You want me to show that?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that was good. Good stuff. Sweet.
Yeah, there was some issues with the water
Timothy
being thrown on her and
really
some of the other stuff.
God, if it's low hanging fruit like a kumquat, Timothy's going to go for it. Just saying. Yay, Buckler. Got one fan there. How's Melvin 4 coming, Timothy?
Oh, that was great. Wow.
So before, because he's filling up a bucket of water, he's going to throw it at her. Before I had the water coming in and it looked a little bit like, what do you call it? It wasn't quite right.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that the nips are more prominent now. They're not as obscured.
Okay, so now I have the water coming in stronger.
Right. Yep.
But still, not obfuscating.
Right.
And so that's
and I
took the middle panel from the top and flipped it before because she was facing to the left before. I have it facing to the right. That way she's on the left on every panel at least.
Yep.
Kind of helps the storytelling of it.
Yep. Because I didn't recognize that as her when you had it flipped the other way. I was like, what's going on here? It was confusing.
So I think now I think this page is now done.
It reads really well.
Lettering this page now, yeah.
Most definitely.
Awesome.
That's
And I'm sure I speak for everybody that people are liking your stuff on Buckler, that you're actually doing some stuff on Buckler a little bit by little bit. LDG in the house, hey. Where can we find the Buckler 2? I missed the Fund My Comic campaign.
You can't find it right now. It's not available right now.
Yeah.
But soon. Soon.
No, it's not Jizz. Wow, Timothy. Wow.
You know, there's a way to time people out for talking all kinds of craziness in your chat, Rick.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I'll do that.
It's all kinds of inappropriate.
There, I put him in timeout. First time I've ever done that. Way to go, Timothy.
All right, there you go.
How
I
long?
bow to the pressures of the panel.
All right, here we go.
Uh-oh, Elsie's looking at his watch.
No, I said, how long you gonna keep him in time?
Oh, what, you got a hot date, LZ? What's going on?
I think when I time him out, he's timed out for what? 2 minutes? 5 minutes? What is it?
Oh, it's permaban.
Oh, hell.
Well,
Don't
that's
tell me
escalated
that.
quickly.
Timothy, come back. You know I love you.
That escalated quickly.
No,
Yeah.
it gives you the option to time them out for however long you wish.
Okay, well, I just timed him out, so I don't know.
He just kicked him
I
out.
don't see any of his comments up there now, so I think it removed all his. So
Yeah, I believe that's the way YouTube works when you remove someone.
Okay, thanks, Dillard. I may have to fix that. I don't know how, but
It says here that you were timed out. Timothy Olsen was timed out by Devil Flyer Momentum for 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes.
Okay, I can live with that. Now I'm not sure, Timothy's head may explode in the meantime. But, that's on him for talking jizz.
Well, that's on him for talking all kinds of inappropriateness. And
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, when I first started on YouTube, there were a lot of porn bots.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's to the point where on my channel we can't we refer to Nightwing as Richard Grayson, because if we say Dick, all of a sudden they'll start coming in. Even though we don't mean that, we mean Grayson.
Right. Yeah, well, there's certain words you learn, to avoid, right?
Exactly, like that. So I'm like, so it's like when we're having a conversation, I have to say either Nightwing or
like
Richard
that word
Grayson.
that Timothy Olsen just used in the chat.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Crooked Pioneer, you'll get mine. You'll get mine eventually.
Eventually.
Let's get the thing launched.
Oh, when is you have a campaign starting up real soon, don't you?
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to you, Rex.
I'm just doing what you would do to me. Yes, I do. Saturday we launch. Are you going to be there at the party, or at least for the maybe Rex Hex and Apex pre-party type thing that we'll be having?
Huh? Why would I be there?
Because you did the main cover for one thing, the content page.
I didn't really work on the book.
Well, you did the content page, the front cover. You have a trading or a magnet that's going to be made. That's your artwork. You're doing a 2-page story for it. There might be some. You're going to do some coloring on Tank Ferret's drawing a devil flyer. That
all right, you convinced me. I'm involved. I guess I'll show.
Yeah,
Look,
and
dude,
it's going to be, and that artwork is going to be made into a standee, which will have your coloring on it. I remind people what it looks like. So on the blank version, this artwork will be black and white on the back cover, printed in black and white. on the Golden Age cover done by the artist that did the story, John Fernandez, my neighbor, um, it will be colored in the blue and gray costume, and on Dillard's cover it'll be the red and burgundy. But this is going to be made to a standee for the campaign too,
cool.
For the featured tier. That's the only way you'll be able to get the standee.
Mm-hmm.
But this will be on 3 of the back of the 4. There'll be 4, and there'll be a hardback edition as well, artist edition offered. And there'll be one super bundle where you'll get all the existing preliminary artwork, not the actual pages, because John has those and he wants to keep those, but all the preliminary stuff that the behind the scenes stuff, the stuff that wasn't published. You can buy all the you can get the hardback edition, maybe the books too, I don't know, and the all the stuff and all the artwork, which is a file about this big worth of stuff. All one of a kind stuff. Decapitations that, the original, Jared, the way I originally wrote it was the 2 bad guys, right? That chain up and throw Devil Flyer into the drink, because that's the very first page on the splash page. It really is a splash page. He's being thrown into the drink.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, and it immediately gets you into the story. Then I cut to a double page spread of him like being heroic, looking heroic over the city of Chicago. And so we leave that moment and we come back to it like 16 pages later. You've forgotten about it and you come back. Oh, that's how he wound up in the water,
Okay.
But
sense.
You're immediately into the story by the splash page. And so he's chained up there on the back cover. He's breaking chains. So it kind of makes sense,
Oh, it's cool.
But in the original story, he was on a dock. But my artist put it on a boat. I said, even better, they're dumping him off a boat. And I had in the story him decapitating off screen one guy in the head, rolling to the feet of the other thug and scaring him.
That's great. I love that.
Where did you take my trident? Where's the address? Where can I find my trident? So he decapitates a guy. John drew him decapitating both guys. And I said, and he didn't go with that in the final pages, but I said, there's nobody to ask where's trident.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of need to leave one alive.
Yeah. But all that original material will be in one bundle, a file about this thick. I kid you not. Up for one-time offer. It'll be like I don't know, $600 tier or something if you want all that and the original. The only artwork to Devil Flyer that's original artwork that's offered, except for maybe some other production thing, but to do with the book, it'll be up there. So I want to offer that to someone if they want to buy it. But we've got some good things planned.
Sweet.
We're putting it together. I've got a guy working on it today, and we're looking good on it. We're going to be ready to launch. I'm going to be sitting here on a defibrillator,
Yeah, there you go.
And not even have it on, I'll be shaking. It's like,
take it easy and ask for your life story.
This is the big moment. I think I just had a bowel movement.
There you go.
Type thing, sitting here. But it'll be a lot of fun. I may have to get drunk for this. I don't know.
Only one way to party.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to, I was on a stream and Jay was talking about how he used to be a heroin addict, and I'm like, wow, that's hardcore, But I'm glad he's off of it and he's producing comics now, and he's awesome. He sculpts. I mean, it's John Dillard level stuff. It's really cool. He's really a great artist. Portraiture, oh my gosh, he did a Boris Karloff Frankenstein and a Bride of Frankenstein. Awesome. I mean, this guy ought to be working in Hollywood or something. You know, he's top tier.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, he's got quite of a story. You know, I'm gonna have to get him on here and talk about, you know, all
looks
the
like Timothy
minutia.
Olsen is back in your chat, and I could describe his actions right now as
Oh yeah,
obstreperous.
I don't even know that word.
Okay, Tim. Don't
I
worry
challenge
about
you to outrageous. I challenge you to the word I get timed out. Yeah, one word. Yeah, snarky
it.
humor.
Don't get upset. It's not worried about it.
Have you been on Vic's show? Just playing. Anyway, I guess
I'm
we're
sorry.
over
I did the lawn. I did my lawn today.
Yeah.
Oh
My
my
head
goodness.
feels all. I keep doing this. Like I feel like I have like pieces of grass and dirt in my head.
Go take a shower, man.
I can't. I got script battle in like 1 hour.
Oh,
I have a ton of work to do, and then I got the
Yeah.
CG slums after that.
Well, you need to cut
3-hour
something out.
show.
You need to be working, sir. You owe people.
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm working.
Clear the board. Clear the board, because I want to give you some more work here pretty soon.
You better hurry up. I don't have all day to wait for your work.
I know.
There you go.
Just all
I guess
night.
the next thing will be color tank ferrets, but I don't even have the scan yet. I don't have the original artwork in my hands to scan, so, and I don't know what's happened to Tank Ferret. I guess he's taken a day or two off. So, but then I really haven't been, you know. Dillard is a busy man, so shush, Rex. Timothy says. Anyway, Jared, thank you for coming on. You know,
Anytime.
usually we go a couple hours. Yeah, we're all busy right now because of the campaign. I apologize. Otherwise, I'd go. You know, I got a lot more to talk about with you, sir. You're.
Well, we'll have to do this again then.
We'll have to do it again, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Heck yeah.
We'll stay in contact. We'll have you on after the campaign launches. You know.
Yeah, let's do
Well,
it.
I got to roll too, Rex.
Okay, Elsie, thank you for coming on.
Jared, it
Sure,
was
man.
nice to meet you. Good luck with your channel and all your future endeavors.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
have a good one.
You too.
I'll
Can
talk to
we-
y'all
let's
later,
see.
I'm sure.
I'm going to go to your YouTube again, pick that up again, and
Wait.
drop that for people. If you're interested in Jared's content and his channel, or think you would be, he's over on YouTube.
Yep.
And so here we go. I'm dropping that one more time before we get out of here. I
Appreciate it.
usually end the show by saying, keep collecting. You want to say it
Yep.
today?
Keep collecting.